Sorry, not sorry. Oliver's job wasn't glamorous, but it paid the rent. Most nights he sat alone in his small Camden flat, with a laptop balanced on the kitchen table, and a mug of lukewarm tea beside it, moderating posts on a website called back2school.com. The site had been created by an old classmate of his, Marcus. The idea was simple: a place where people across the UK could reconnect with people from their old school days. Users could search for their schools, find former classmates, share photographs, organize reunions, or just reminisce about their younger years. It had grown far bigger than Marcus ever expected. Thousands of schools were listed on the site now, and tens of thousands of users posted daily. And where there were thousands of users, there were always problems, arguments, insults, old grudges from decades ago suddenly resurfacing. That was where Oliver and a few others came in. Every night they logged in and worked through the moderation queue, reviewing reports from users who claimed someone had posted something offensive or threatening. Most of the time it was boring. Someone angry about politics, someone posting embarrassing photos from a school trip, someone drunk and ranting about teachers they hated in 1999. Oliver deleted the worst of it, warned the occasional troublemaker, and otherwise kept the site tidy. On a rainy November night, his shift had started like any other. The rain tapped softly against the window, while the quiet hum of London carried through the streets outside. Oliver sat hunched over his laptop in the dim light, scrolling through reports. Delete. Dismiss. Warn. User. Another dull evening. At 11:38 p.m, a new report appeared in the queue. Oliver clicked it open. The post had been made by a user called David, 1978. The message itself contained only a single word: sorry. Oliver frowned slightly. The report reason listed by another user read, creepy behavior. He sighed. People reported the strangest things. A single word hardly counted as harassment. Oliver clicked no issue and closed the report. A few seconds later, another notification appeared. Same user, same message. Sorry. Oliver leaned back in his chair. Right, he muttered. Someone's bored tonight. He opened the user's profile. The account had been created only a few hours earlier. No profile picture, no personal information, but one field had been filled in. School, St. George's Secondary School, London. Oliver paused briefly. That had been his school too. Still, it wasn't exactly rare. Plenty of former students had signed up to the site. He dismissed the second report. Almost immediately, another post appeared. This one was slightly different. Sorry, not sorry. Oliver frowned and opened the profile again. The bio field had been updated. You probably don't remember me. Oliver rubbed his forehead. It looked like someone had joined the site just to stir up some old school drama. That sort of thing happened more often than people might think. He opened the moderator message box and typed a quick warning. Please stop spamming posts, or your account may be suspended. He sent it and waited. The reply came almost instantly. Do you remember St. George's? Oliver typed back a short response. Yes. A second message appeared. Do you remember Year 9? Oliver hesitated slightly. Year 9. He wasn't sure why, but that question made him uncomfortable. School hadn't exactly been the happiest time of his life. Like most teenagers, he and his friends had spent much of their time being loud, stupid, and occasionally cruel. He typed a reply. Who is this? The typing indicator blinked for a few seconds before the answer appeared. You really don't know? Oliver frowned. No. Another message arrived. You used to stand with the others near the football posts. A small knot began forming in Oliver's stomach. The messages kept coming. You used to laugh when they pushed me. Oliver sat back slowly in his chair. A memory stirred somewhere in the back of his mind. A thin boy, quiet, always standing alone. Oliver typed again. Who are you? The answer appeared a moment later. David. The name felt oddly familiar. Another message followed. David Harper. Oliver stared at the screen. Yes. Now he remembered. David Harper had been a quiet kid in their year who never spoke much. He had worn thick glasses, kept to himself, and had been an easy target for the louder boys in the class, including Oliver. David had left the school halfway through year 9. No one had ever explained why. Oliver had never really thought about him since. He typed carefully. Look, if this is about school stuff. Another message appeared before he could finish. You told everyone I couldn't shoot. Oliver blinked. For a moment he didn't understand. Then the memory clicked. Archery. St. George's had an odd tradition of running archery lessons during sports week. Students took turns trying to hit targets set up at the far end of the playing field. David had been terrible at it. Oliver and his friends had mocked him relentlessly for missing the target again and again. Oliver typed slowly. That was years ago. The reply came instantly. Yes. Another message followed. You used to say I couldn't hit anything. Oliver sighed and rubbed his temples. We were kids. 3 dots appeared on the screen as the other person typed. Then the message arrived. I practiced. Before Oliver could respond, a new post appeared on the site. It contained a photograph. Oliver clicked it. The image showed the street outside his building, the laundrette below his flat, the narrow staircase leading up to his front door. Oliver's stomach tightened. He typed quickly. Where'd you get that photo? The reply appeared almost immediately. I took it. Oliver stood up from his chair and walked to the window. Outside, rain fell steadily onto the pavement. Under the yellow glow of a streetlight stood a man. He was standing perfectly still, looking up at the building. Oliver stepped back from the window. His laptop chimed again. Sorry. Another message followed. I'm coming up. Oliver's pulse began to race. Downstairs, the building door creaked open. Footsteps echoed through the stairwell. Slow, deliberate. Step, step, step. Oliver stared at his front door as the footsteps climbed higher. The laptop pinged again. You said I was a terrible shot. The footsteps reached the landing outside his flat. Oliver could feel his heart pounding in his chest. Then there was a knock on the door. Oliver forced his voice to speak. Who is it? A quiet voice answered from the hallway. You know who? Oliver slowly approached the door and opened it. Standing in the dimly lit corridor was a thin man wearing a dark coat. His hair was damp from the rain, and a pair of cracked glasses rested on his pale face. Despite the years that had passed, Oliver recognized him instantly. David Harper. They stared at each other for a moment. Oliver swallowed. Look, about school. We were stupid kids. David nodded slightly. I know. Oliver exhaled in relief. Then why are you here? David calmly lifted something from beside his leg. A crossbow. Old-fashioned, wooden, very similar to the ones they had used during those archery lessons at school. Oliver felt the blood drain from his face. David slowly loaded a bolt. You used to laugh every time I missed the target, he said quietly. Oliver raised his hands. David, come on. We can talk about this. David didn't seem to hear him. You told everyone I couldn't aim. Oliver's voice shook. I'm sorry. David looked at him silently for a moment. Then he said softly, Sorry. He raised the crossbow and aimed it directly at Oliver's chest. Not sorry. The bolt fired with a sharp snap. It struck Oliver square in the chest. Oliver collapsed backwards into his flat, crashing onto the kitchen floor as the chair beside the table toppled over. Blood sprayed the wall and surrounding carpet. The laptop screen continued glowing on the table. David stepped quietly into the doorway and looked down at the body. Outside, rain continued falling across Camden's dark streets, while distant sirens began to wail, somewhere far away. David watched Oliver for a moment. Then he smiled faintly. I think my aim just got a lot better. The next morning, Oliver's landlord had been to the property to check for mail, and had noticed the light in the hall. After a gruesome discovery, he had called the police. It didn't take long to find out who was the killer, David Harper. He had left a digital trail as if he wanted to be found. It was 9 months later he was found guilty and deemed to be a very high risk. He was criminally insane, with a complex history of mental health issues. He was sent to Broadmoor, where he still remains to this day. The end.